สวัสดีครับพบกับ Tomorrow สาระความรู้เพื่อวันพรุ่งนี้คลิปนี้พบกับผมบอยธงชัยชลสิริพงศ์ครับวันนี้เราจะไปพูดถึงเรื่องของการตลาดกันสักนิดหนึ่งในแบรนด์ที่ค่อนข้างจะโดดเด่นขึ้นมามากๆในช่วงนี้เลยนะฮะก็คือ GQ คือไม่ว่าเขาจะปล่อยผลิตภัณฑ์ลอนช์อะไรออกมาเนี่ยเป็นกระแสได้เสมอเลยอย่างตัวล่าสุดคือกางเกงในไข่เย็นแต่รู้ไหมฮะว่าก่อนหน้าที่จะเป็นกางเกงในไข่เย็นเนี่ยนะฮะเขาเป็นอะไรมาแล้วหลายอย่างมากๆไม่ว่าจะเป็นเสื้อเชิ้ตเสื้อโปโลหน้ากากผ้าอนามัยนั่นก็เป็นที่ฮอตฮิตในประเทศไทยเหมือนกันวันนี้จึงเป็นโอกาสที่ดีนะฮะที่เราจะไปพูดคุยกับหนึ่งในผู้บริหารของ GQ ครับมิสเตอร์จอร์จ Hartel ซึ่งเป็น Chief Commercial Officer ครับแล้วคุณจอร์จก็อยู่กับเราณที่นี้แล้วนะครับ Hello welcome คุณจอร์จ so thank you for being here
Hey, good afternoon. Sawadee krap. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me, Kun Boy, and the rest of your team. Excited to be here today.
That's great. So first of all, I want to know about your position, CCO. I mean, in this era, we have a lot of C-level in management, like CEO, CTO, CIO, CFO, and C blah blah blah. So what about CCO, Chief Commercial Officer for GQ, right? So what do you do as a CCO at GQ?
Yeah, thanks for the question. The CCO role, we feel like it's a relatively new role in companies, but and my primary role is to ensure the growth and transformation for the company. So Kun Win, our CEO, when we met a few years ago, felt like it was an important role for the company to have going forward. And so my primary remit involves everything from sales and marketing to working on innovation and product development, as well as partnerships and building out the e-commerce and the marketing teams. And so I work hand in hand with the rest of the family and the C-suite executive team closely every day to ensure we have a strong commercial operation, but we keep things relatively flat in the organization, so we all touch a lot of different parts every day.
Quite a lot, huh? So yeah, sales, marketing, and partnership, a lot. So why don't you tell us about the big picture of GQ? So I mean, how is your business in overview right now?
Sure. Yeah. So the business for GQ and Supara Group is quite healthy. I think we've pivoted really fast during COVID with the mask, and the overall strategy we set out in 2019, which was to transform the company into a tech apparel business that was design-led, innovation-led, and super strong digital marketing with great teams, and we were executing that when we originally launched GQ White, even before COVID. And now that strategy we had in place and the teams we had built early on allowed us to quickly pivot the business during the early days of COVID, and then for us it's really just been a rocket ship of acceleration during COVID, despite all of the challenges in the market. You can't even name all of them, right? It's such a challenging time in business, but we've been able to stay nimble and invest and continue to innovate, and for us it's paid off during this time.
Yeah. So I mean, we are all very excited every time when the GQ releases a new product. I mean, there will always be a trend. Always, like from a shirt, like a color changing shirt, polo, fabric mask. So let me ask you, and a lot of people want to know, what is the logic behind each product? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we have an overall vision for the business, which is to create life-changing wearable solutions. This is kind of like our meaning, our purpose, our why. So we talk about this every day. Are we creating life-changing wearable solutions? And that's the strategy. So it makes it very simple in a lot of ways, because we don't get distracted with fast fashion. We don't get distracted with relatively seasonal items. we just try to make the best one we can make in the category. And then once we have it sorted, then we try to do our job to innovate the marketing and the communications to consumers so that we make it fun or, the talk of the town when we can, if it's possible. But that's been the strategy since we started with the white shirt. We just wanted to make the best white shirt that someone could wear. And we go out and we talk to consumers, and we understand their problems, and then we go to work trying to solve for those problems. And that formula has paid off for us. And we hope we can continue to delight everyone in the market as we go forward. But it's not easy trying to find these pockets of innovation each time. And so, but the team has done an amazing job of continuously finding innovation across many categories now, and so it's been a lot of fun for us to do this work.
I mean, before becoming a product, so how this each product been through? I mean, innovation that you use with your product. Do you do a direct research with the consumer? Like you always fix the pain point, right? So what is that?
Yeah, I mean that's the key to all of it. You have to do the homework up front and listen. And we have a good team of people who listen and go out and talk to consumers and get to the heart of what is it that they're really experiencing that is a frustration for them.
Yeah.
And if we start with that, then we always end up in a good place.
Right.
And that's the key to it, but it takes time. Like it's a lot of effort to go out, do the research, make prototypes, get people to test them, fix them, change it, do another round of testing. And we just do that. And now we've got the model built. So in a way, it gets a little bit easier because the teams are, trained on like how to do it over and over again. But it's very easy during this process for people to get off message and off the insights that really matter. And you get a lot of opinions in a room, or you have someone walk in and say, "Oh, I think it's this. That's the key." And you're like, "Well, that's what you think." We kind of talk about this internally. It's like we don't really subscribe to like n equals 1. Like no single person's opinion is enough to sway the whole group. We try to use the consumer's voice and their feeling to drive the decision making. And if you stay true to that, then you can come out with something that, like you just said, that consumers go, "Wow, you really did solve my problem," or "You really are speaking to me about something that I have a problem with, and maybe I didn't even feel comfortable talking about. I didn't talk about the discomfort I had with my underwear. I didn't talk about my fear of my mobile phone and the effects it might have on my groin area." Like there's so many things that we talk about that people do care about, but maybe some brands and some companies just wouldn't feel comfortable having that conversation in the public or with the consumer. And we try to make sure we're doing that we're talking about real problems with real people.
So let me clarify that. So everything that you said is like the innovation of GQ began with the good culture in your company, right?
Sure. Yeah. There's process to it. So the model is built now, and we can go in. You give me a category, we'll go into it and look at it and apply the model, the innovation model, and we kind of feel pretty good about the fact that something good will come out on the other side. It doesn't mean it'll always work. I mean, we have, sometimes we do things and there's unfortunate, events that we can't control, like COVID. For example, we really love color changing technology. We've spent a lot of money investing in that, and the launch, and the beautiful launch video. And the day we launched it, they announced the cancellation of Songkran the first time. So then we waited, and we were going to do it again. And right when we went to launch this year, they canceled it again.
Yeah,
so
excited for
second
that.
wave hit. Yeah, so it's been, you don't know, even when you do all of your best work, sometimes there's things out of your control. But the teams are strong and resilient, and they just say, "Look, okay, we did our best and we'll move on to the next one. And that's a good way to think about the problems as they come up.
Yeah. Wait and see. So in this time, talk about your product. In this time, you just launched a cool tech underwear, right?
Yeah,
so
that one's a lot of
I'm
fun.
gonna describe that. It's like it is the underwear that will cool the men's private part underwear. So yes, yeah. I mean, since that product release, I mean, please tell us about the feature and I mean the language that you use in advertisements that was particularly flashy. So tell us about that.
Yeah, this has probably been the most fun we've had on a project, and there's kind of two work streams for Cool Tech underwear. One was the business case for it, which was, hey, it's a really big space. We really found it attractive. It's an item that hopefully everyone has, and not everyone, but hopefully everyone. And we went out and we did the same thing, right? We talked to consumers and talked to men, and we were like, hey, what's going on down there? And they were very, very open. At first they were a little shy, right? Everyone would be shy. It's naturally not really something that everyone talks about, particularly in Thailand. In Western culture, it's a little more of an open discussion, but in Thailand, we found in the beginning, it wasn't something that people really wanted to talk about as well.
Yeah.
But as we started to dig deeper and we got the right focus groups together, we started to hear things that were coming out. And obviously those are the things we solve for, like heat and fit and access and chafing and all the issues that we solved. So that was where we ended up on the product side. So we knew we had a great product, and we tested thousands of men. So it's like we went so deep on underwear because in a way we had time because we've been pushing the project for a while, but COVID, in a way, this last round of COVID allowed it, because the stores weren't open, it allowed us to slow down a little bit. And we got the launch in a position to be really, really special. But the product was great. We knew the product was great. We tested it with users. They told us they loved it. Fit, access, easy access. The cooling feature, really, they felt the difference. And so we knew we had something great, but the product's only as good as the story we can tell. And so something this special needed the proper storyteller. And so that's where we worked with Kuntor from Phenomena. Pitor is by far, in my opinion, I've been doing this for 20 years in 50 countries and around the world, and he's honestly, in my opinion, he's the best creative director I've ever worked with in the world. He's just so insightful and can really get to the heart of what people are really feeling. And so he's worked with us before on GQ White, and he understands the brand position that we've built with GQ. So it's like a continuation of the story. But the eggs, using the eggs to represent, and sorry, I've said
That's like
we've talked
tricky. That's tricky, but interesting. Yeah.
So it's a hard one, right? Because you want to talk about the man's private area, but we have to do it in a tasteful way, but make the point. And so obviously eggs really do that, and in Thai it's even more perfect meaning. But Kuntor was able to work with our team and make the story really come to life, and the launch video is really special one. And it's special because it really strikes at the heart of the original insights, which was what men were really feeling every day, the kind of troubles that men go through that don't really get talked about, with heat and powder and chafing and discomfort, and the access. You got one hand on your cell phone and you're trying to go to the bathroom, and even though you could argue that shouldn't be the case, that's just the reality that everyone does. And so you're like fumbling the phone, and you're fumbling your belt and your pants and everything else. And so we hit all of those areas really hard with the advertising, and it was a really, really amazing communication launch, and it's paid off. The awareness has been huge. I think we're on day 12 now. Just a fantastic response from the market. and so it's been, a great launch, really fantastic launch.
Yeah. So as you do a focus group and research and you talk with the consumer over 1,000 people, so I mean, have you noticed that young generation tend to express themselves or talking about things that didn't talk in the past, like in this particularly underwear, a private area, like this?
Yeah. I mean, I think so. We do, because of the heritage of the GQ brand too. We do talk to a wide age group. So, the original heritage we didn't forget about when we did the transformation. Obviously, we spent a lot of energy growing the younger, call it 18 to 34, college graduates, first jobbers, for early professionals. Now a lot of young. The problems that we solved actually span all ages. So, there's also the eggs that aren't, the eggs are sagging and hanging, right, in some of the imagery. And so that doesn't necessarily apply to the young guy, even though he's worried about that in his future. It's the old guy who's worried about that. So it's like these insightful things that are kind of cheeky, but also real. We talked about. So, to answer your question, the younger crowd, of course, is more open once you get them going. But we found in general, like that this topic is not necessarily something that everybody initially wants to have a chat about. Even people, when they start to talk about the ad, they kind of like fumble over what word should I use to describe the eggs in real? Like, should I use the medical term? Should I use groin, private? Like baseballs? Like what's the word you should use? And like the nice part is, egg just kind of keeps it neutral, right? Everyone can talk about eggs because it's everybody has some, so it's easy.
And that is a communication strategy for you, and that it works.
Yeah. And eggs were neutral, right? You could show eggs on communication. It didn't get blocked by any social media. We could use it in pop-up stores in the mall because it was neutral, right? People didn't feel like it was, it doesn't seem like anyone feels like it's offensive in any way. It's just reality. So that was good. Yeah, really good.
So when you do a communication like this to across some line of some people, I mean, like, do you have a backfire from the conservatism people with, oh my God, that's too much? Do you have a problem like that?
We in this particular campaign we didn't. Other campaigns there has been of course before this one, like the mask is obviously still quite controversial, right? The mask is controversial. Anything related to COVID, certainly some of the controversy around vaccine, but the mask, people comment like, oh, you don't need them, right? And like, okay, believe what you want to believe, but we've been in the crossfires a little bit on that. But for underwear, we weren't sure if there was going to be like some pushback because the ad did go a little bit further than usual. But honestly, you can go on I think the views are up to close to 10 million for the video. The comments are super positive from consumers. They are like, this is so funny. Thank you. They actually thank us. They're like, thank you for talking about the real problems that we have as men. How did you guys come up with this? The ha, like 555 is so funny. So I think in some ways the humor of the ad, like in the realness of it, kept it from being like getting into the crossfires a little bit there. But I'm sure there are people out there that don't necessarily love that particular type of communication. But we sort of manage to do that the best we can.
Yeah. So you talk about COVID. So I mean, everyone was beaten in a COVID time. So what does a COVID means for GQ? What happened to GQ? I mean, have you adjusted your business to survive? So tell us about that at the overview.
Yeah,
business.
So great question, and one that comes up quite often is how do you get through COVID? When we go back to I mentioned before, right? GQ Color was February of 2020. We were ready to launch it, had the press release go out for the launch of, GQ Color. Literally the tagline was Songkran will never be the same. Little did we know that had a different meaning with COVID, but it was a beautiful advertisement displaying the power of the color change and the fun that could be created and the excitement that could become part of the future of Songkran. And that was the vision for us then. And then, of course, boom, like overnight, it was like GQ Colors canceled. Oh, by the way, all the malls are closing. So all of your distribution, your 150 stores are going to close. We're going, whoa, okay, that's hard, right? We just come off this huge high from GQ White. But the team, we pivoted the whole business because we almost forced to in a way. To look at the mask category and say, hey, people want masks. Let's make them a great mask. And we could have just made a simple mask with 2 loops because that's what was going on globally. That's what we could have done. But the team doesn't really want to be that, right? So their mindset is like, well, why don't you give us a minute to go out and talk to consumers and see what their issues are? So in the very early days, people were already having problems, right? They were like, oh, my mask, I lose it. I can't find it. I take it off. It's on my table. Where did it go? And I try to get out of my car and I forgot it in the car. Now I can't go into 7-Eleven. So I'm frustrated. So there's like these really big issues that started early day, very first set of masks in the market.
Right.
And then of course people started complaining about acne. So now it's referred to as maskne. It's like an actual word that you can get from your mask, acne from your mask. And we also saw it as an opportunity at the beginning to use the GQ White material from the shirt on the outside to educate people more about the liquid repellent, the GQ Guard. So that was like the original strategy, was fix the strap, fix the acne, and of course promote GQ White as a brand for the shirt. And we didn't, at the time, of course, we didn't know that COVID was still going to be going this long, right? We started it. We launched it from the concept day to the day we launched pre-order. It was only 10 days. So we developed the entire GQ White mask in 10 days. All the content, photo shoot, website, everything done, full throttle, whole team behind it. We launched it first day. We crashed the website 5 times because there was so much demand. We got it back up and running. We'd sold 100,000 masks in the first day. And by the end of the first 6 weeks, we had sold more than 1 million, and we never looked back. So all of our, while the stores were all closed, we turned into kind of a mask business. And after we got going with just the basic white mask, then we started doing what we do. We listened, and people were like, I want black. And so we said, okay, we'll give you black. They were commenting, give me a black mask, give me a black mask in all of our posts, right? And we're like, all right, calm down. We're going as fast as we can. And so we delivered a black mask, and after black took off, then we were listening to moms. So now, if you think about it, we were kind of a men's brand before COVID. But after the mask, you have men and women buying the mask, all different, consumers. And then moms were buying it. And then moms were like, hey, could you make one for my kids that's smaller? And we said, well, of course we can. So then we made the kids mask. And then it just kept going. Even like people were like, oh, I have a little bit of extra weight. Can you make a bigger one for me? Can you make XXL? So we made XXL. So we just listened to what people were asking for, and we just quickly responded. But during COVID, during the lockdown, we became a mask business. And that, of course, accelerated 2 things. It accelerated, obviously, it was great for revenue, especially with all the stores closed. But more importantly, it opened up new channels of distribution. So prior to COVID, we were selling in a department store, our own stores online.
Okay.
But because of the COVID situation with the masks, we were in 13,000 7-Elevens. We were in Family Mart, Tops, J-Mart, Banana. Like all these companies wanted masks to sell. And so it opened up more than 20,000 points of distribution for us that we could sell the brand to.
Okay.
So that was a huge transition for us in the middle of COVID. We essentially came out of the COVID situation having more access to distribution for the brand and more consumers than ever. So that was really kind of special. Now it changes the way we innovate, right? We don't have to necessarily innovate just for men. If we want to think about doing something for the general public, like just basic T-shirts, right? So last October we launched the GQ Basic T-shirt.
Yeah.
And that, women, men, it doesn't matter. Everyone's kind of it's unisex, so anyone can wear it. And we see that being quite successful in the market now. So I think that answers your question a bit. Like what happened during COVID for us, it just like accelerated our strategy instead of, sort of slowing it down.
Yeah. So I think we can't deny that the fabric mass of the GQ is a top player in the market. I mean, some say number one in the market, right? So, I mean, what is the goal for the cool tech underwear? Is that go the same way to be the number one in the market with the men's pain point that you just fixed that?
Yeah. For sure. I mean, that's the goal, is to get there. We set a target during the first year to try to get to number one. We'll see if we can get there, but we are really excited about the start. But yeah, I mean, we love the underwear. We see it as a really important category, something that everybody needs, and we think that the problems we've solved are things that consumers really see a benefit in. So I think if we keep going and pushing, we very well could be number one. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Our team and our commercial team, our operations team, and everyone has a lot to do to get to number one. So we're excited about what's possible, but we certainly don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But we think it's in our range of possibilities this year.
I'm curious about COVID again. So COVID makes you more online, or no, or just go hand in hand with the online. I don't know what is that.
Yeah, it's a good question. The online piece, because we had set up so much prior to COVID, with GQ White was such a mega launch for us, and we were we're kind of top leaderboard in Lazada and Shopee. We right at the start of COVID, Central Online had just launched this app, so we've been working closely with their teams to make sure we are present, have a good shop and shop store on Central's app. And then, of course, our website is critical for us. So we do a lot of direct-to-consumer communication. So people want to come and buy. And, of course, we would prefer them to buy direct if we can. But it doesn't always pan out. There are people who are more comfortable with Lazada, Shopee, or Central because that's where they have their points. So they want to get their coins, or they just like the payment gateway. There's all these other friction points that are realities with any marketplace or app. But the online mix was strong before COVID, and then it just obviously when the stores closed, it became a really important one. Where we had a difference in offline, though, is like I mentioned before, the shift in channels where we started to sell a lot of the masks and T-shirts in 7-Eleven and modern trade and convenience channel. So that we consider as offline as well. So that also it really just changed the channel mix a lot during COVID. And of course the stores came back online, and the brand was still hot and strong. We had at that point we'd launched the mask, we'd launched T-shirt, then November of last year we launched Perfect Polo, and then Perfect Pants in May. So we've been continuing to innovate and launch product during this 2-year run, and I think it's been healthy for the business.
So let me ask you, not just a goal for a fabric mask or a goal for underwear, but the goal for GQ in this year and next year, and what is the challenge in the next step?
Yeah, I really hope for everyone. It's not just for us that that we can get back to some sense of normalcy, right? I think that we would prefer to actually be out of the mask business and focused on like other things. We are in it and we have leadership positions, so we of course will continue to supply the market with their needs. But I hope that in the next year, the market opens up, we start to get visitors again, you start to see companies start to thrive. Small businesses can get back to doing great things, and the creativity in Thailand is one of the best that I've seen in the region. So I hope that can continue to thrive. But for us too, it's continuing to find those problems to solve for consumers, and we're trying some new categories soon. So we're going to try to get into some new spaces in the coming weeks and months. And so you'll see some more innovation coming from our team in areas that are maybe were quite unexpected for our brand, but some we see that has big potential.
As we talk, I think I understand one thing from GQ. Every innovation, you want to fix the problem of the people, and innovation start with your inner. I mean, like you want to solve the problem, like really. So finally, in your view, what is the perspective that you want people to see at GQ, to look at GQ brand, and they think in your mind, in their mind, as the first thing, what's that GQ wants to represent?
Yeah, so for us, it's a bit of what I was talking about before. We really believe in life-changing wearable solutions. So we want people to see our products as something that we've provided a real solution. It's not about like look good or necessarily about like just a fashion item, right? That comes and goes. We want to make products that arguably maybe they could last for a generation rather than a season or a year. So that's the kind of feeling we have internally. We talk about striving to create product and a wow that people will love, and maybe they will buy it for themselves and maybe for their kids one day, and so on and so on. So that's really what we're trying to do. And if we can stick to that, then I think we have a really big chance to keep innovating, for people and consumers to see us as a brand that does solve problems, that does innovate. And over time, if you can do that, then we build trust with the consumer that whatever we launch, they almost become like trusting that whatever we do launch in the future will be something that they see as something they want, because they already know we've already solved the problem for them. But I think that takes time to finish that piece off, but I think we're on a journey to get to that point in the near future.
So big goal with a big challenge.
Huge goal, but one we're excited to take on for sure.
Yeah, and we're excited too. So thank you so much, Mr. George Hartel. So very informative interview. So thank you for GQ, and we know why GQ has a lot of innovation. So it's all about in your mindset, and it reflects in your product. So thank you so much, Mr. Hartel. Thank you. สวัสดีครับ
Thank you so much, Kumboy. Thank you for having me. Thank you to your team for having me. สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับ